Close to the volcano, there is no rock richer in minerals than that of petrified lava. And thus, on these inaccessible slopes, where no tree can take root, there abounds a myriad of plant species of great rarity. Lycopod, ferns and sphagnum moss, thyme, and even wild mountain pineapple, all this mountain vegetation is spongy. It gorges itself with water, retains it, preserves it, and charges it with minerals. A reservoir of humidity unlike any other, the summit of the Soufriere is the giant water tower for the whole of Guadeloupe. In this high-altitude treasure trove begins a natural cycle peculiar to islands and coastal shores, a planetary cycle that is essential to ocean life, since it truly is the Earth which feeds the sea. Here in Guadeloupe, this perpetual water cycle begins with the Carbet Falls. The first fall drops in 2 tiers from a height of 115 meters. Further down its course towards the sea, the second fall makes a leap of 110 meters. Throughout the vertiginous journey, the waters of the Carbet make a last dive of about 20 meters in a circular basin, a place where the magic of the Taino Indians, the island's first inhabitants, has remained intact. It is in this place, far from the tumult of the world, that the slow work of the water begins to accomplish its mission, throughout its journey to feed not only the earth, but also the sea and their inhabitants in an endless flow. When the water reaches the lower altitudes, the contrast between its coolness and the surrounding heat sparks an explosion of tropical luxuriance. Every blade of grass, every drop of water, every breath of wind hides, protects, and feeds various forms of life which offer themselves to one another in a continuous cycle of regeneration. Light and minerals. This is where life begins, in the running water. The torrents of Basse-Terre shelter a fish called the mountain mullet, aptly named since it lives at altitude close to the springs. The mountain mullet thrives at these heights. Nevertheless, it comes from the sea. From the coasts, its species gives birth to their offspring, and when the young have grown enough, they make their way up the rivers, leaping waterfalls and obstacles, propelled by a single instinct to colonize these water courses as high up as possible. Another creature familiar to the running water comes here to feed on plankton. It sucks it from the surface of the river pebbles. This feeding habit gave the fish its name, the coal-rush, or rock clinger. Its suckers also help it make its way upriver by clinging from one pebble after the next. The rock clinger coexists with the wasu. Omnivorous, the wasu feed on decomposing plant matter and carcasses. The wasu should not be confused with crayfish. The latter are crawlers, whereas the wasu, which are large freshwater shrimp, can swim. For the wasu, the females carry the eggs under their protective tails until maturity. When the rainy season arrives and the watercourses no longer risk drying up, they drop their eggs to hatch in every possible nook and cranny. Dragged downstream by the current, the juveniles spend time in the nutrient-rich estuaries before they return upstream against the current of the river where they were born. Born in the water, life has inexorably colonized the earth and the skies. A population with gills and fins, some with roots, even legs. Guadeloupe also has a winged population. This discreet animal, dwelling on land as much as in the air, is the crescent dove. This dove is also found on the other islands of the Lesser Antilles arc. It tells us the story of the animal colonization of the archipelago. A volcano that emerged from the sea, Guadeloupe was initially a desert island devoid of any life. Over time, several varieties of plants and animals settled here. Today, these same species are endemic, since they date back to the island's very first ages. Later, after the arrival of man, Guadeloupe received a concoction of imported species. This mixing between endemic and imported species changes the ecosystems, from the rainforests to the mangrove swamps, and from the wild pineapples to the banana plantations. Among the most recently installed residents is the mongoose family. Having come from the Indies by boat around the end of the 18th century. Predatory and invasive, the price of their arrival in Guadeloupe was the extinction of the parakeet, the burrowing owl, and many other birds whose eggs they hunted. The coruscant thrush is still wary of them. Prying, even a little thuggish, the mongoose also eradicated all the snakes on the island. These opportunist little carnivorous mammals also feed on insects and even on frogs. Not surprising then that from the ground up to the treetops, everyone fears the mongoose. With no rivals, the mongoose has extended its territory from the mountains all the way down to the sea. And when it comes to sharing a hunting ground, they even become aggressive among one another. Today, nothing untoward happened in the mongoose kingdom, but tomorrow may be another day. Fortunately, in the vast primary rainforest of Guadeloupe, not all the birds have succumbed to the reign of the mongoose. There remains one member of the original winged population who succeeded in escaping them. It is the only one and the last endemic bird on the island. Can you hear it? Is it the creaking of an elderly tree? No, it is a Guadeloupe black woodpecker. It is marking its territory by drumming away with its beak on the hollow trunks, a way to chase off contenders and to seduce a partner. Far from priding itself on being the island's last native bird, this male with the dark red breast stays constantly on the alert. His species is threatened with extinction by the modern world's depletion of its natural habitat. Here is the female, all black. She's looking in the trees for insects to feed on. Soon, she and her male will nest. The male has the task to excavate their nest in a dead tree. It will take him around 10 days to reach a depth of about 30 centimeters. The height of the nest matters little, between 2 and 20 meters. What matters is that the trunk should be very smooth and inaccessible to predators. So now the female helps to select the ideal tree where she will accept to lay her eggs. Further descent down towards zero sea level. These are the limits of the Guadeloupe National Natural Park. Here, the wilderness vanishes and man's footprint is drawn on nature's landscape. The landscape transforms to reveal palm trees, fields of sugarcane, a vast inflorescence of strange-shaped tropical flowers, and banana plantations. Despite appearances, it is not man's hand that reigns supreme, but still and forever nature. Wildlife manages to profit from humans' cultivation through a minuscule, discreet, and impregnable population, the ants. This is the family of the Atini ants, known as the cassava ants. Atini ants have jaws powerful enough to cut through the toughest leaves, like shears. Entire trees lose all their leaves in a single day. What do the ants do with all these leaves? They do not eat them. They take them into the depths of their ant nests. There, they make a compost from them, where their only real food grows. A fungus which on its own feeds the whole colony and is thousands of larvae. The indefatigable cassava ants are a nightmare for the farmers. Entire crops disappear in just a few days because of these tiny inhabitants. A population of minute proportions, but quite devastating. In the end, cassava ants thus contribute to the enrichment of Guadeloupe's subsoil in nutrients and minerals. A treasure of great quality which, at the end of their harvesting season, when the colony is asleep, is carried away by the water trickling down from the mountaintops, feeding the lower slopes on its journey down to the sea. By multiplying the underground chambers in which their fungi grow, cassava ants sometimes extend their territory over a surface between 30 and 600 square meters under the soil. In other territories, but attracted to the same delicacies, the plumeria caterpillars, adorned with colors as vivid as the flower that surround them, also help themselves to man's tender cultures. Unlike the ants, they do not carry off their loot. They are voracious and prefer to gorge it on the spot. They cut and swallow, then swallow some more, until completely full, they cannot eat another bite. In a single day, these caterpillars can gobble up to twice their own body weight. It is best to eat well when one aspires one day to become a moth, fluttering from one flower to the next in the carefree world of the skies. Men brought not only mongooses in their boats. Their luggage also contained large numbers of plant species. Guadeloupe's multiple varieties of flowers embellish the gardens and supply the pollinators with abundant nectar available all year round.